Now I'm going to go over to create form in the create section and click on it, and you'll see this dialog that will show up and that will tell you that you've entered the sculpt environment. And I'm going to say OK. And now I'm going to go back to the create dropdown, and I'm going to select a cylinder. We're going to keep using cylinders. And notice that the planes appeared, but I'm not actually going to click on any plane. I'm going to click on the surface that I'm looking at dead on. So I'm going to click on that. And now notice that there's the center point right above your origin. We're going to want to use that. We're going to use that center point, so we're going to hover over it and it'll snap to it. You're going to click on it once, and then you're going to just drag out your cylinder to about 125 millimeters. And now your cylinder is there. And what you're going to do is you're going to want to rotate this around so you can see the cylinder on its side. You can do it with the view cube. Choose the left or the side view. Or you can hold down Shift and hold down your middle mouse button. And that will allow you to rotate around your model without going to any of your tools at the bottom. So also, if you've noticed, when you hold down the middle mouse button, you can also pan. So panning is middle mouse button, and holding down Shift and middle mouse button is rotate. So now I can see the cylinder, and I'm going to drag the length of the cylinder out. I'm going to make this a little bigger. So I'm going to make this about, let's say, 250 millimeters. Actually, let's make it 350 millimeters. So dragging it out, 350. All right. And now I'm going to click OK in the dialog box. Now we have our cylinder. I'm going to go to the right view. And I'm going to double click on this bottom edge. If you double click on a sculpt edge that is continuous, it will select the entire edge. And now I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to edit form. Now edit form is essentially the tool that you'll be using most of the time in the sculpt environment, and it really allows you to sculpt the body that you want. So here, what I want to do is I want to make this circular edge thinner. So I'm going to click on this center manipulator. I'm going to hold it and I'm going to drag it to the left. And notice now when I'm dragging to the left, it's pinching this edge. And you can play around with this and see what kind of shape you want to get. So I'm going to drag this to the left, and now I'm going to double click on the next edge. I'm going to drag this to the left, double click on the next edge, drag it to the left. And now I'm basically making the diameter a bit thinner. And you can really fine tune this with these manipulators. So now I want this edge to come over and make a somewhat of an arc. And to do that, we're going to add geometry. To add geometry, you're going to hold down the Alt key on your keyboard, and you're going to click on this square manipulator here. What this square manipulator does is that it will allow you to freely move around this plane, the plane that you're looking on, and it's restrained to this plane only, but everything else is free for you to move around. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to click and hold on this square manipulator, and I'm going to drag this out. And notice now I can move freely around along this plane, and it's restricted just to this plane. So I'm going to drag this out a bit, and I'm going to click and hold on this rotational manipulator, and I'm going to rotate that edge around so that I can get a nice curve. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click, press and hold Alt, press and hold this center manipulator, and I'm going to drag it out. And notice every time I hold Alt, it's adding additional edges and geometry around it. So now I'm going to rotate this a bit, give it a nice angle, because essentially this is where my shade is going to be. So I want to angle it down a bit. You can set a specific angle there. And then I'm going to drag this down kind of like there. Now I'm going to go and double click on this edge because I want this edge to be a bit straighter. So I'm going to straighten it out with that rotating manipulator. I'm going to do the same thing here. Rotate this a bit so it's got an even thickness. And yeah, that looks about right. I think I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to say OK. And now we have a sculpted neck. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click Finish Form because we're done with this neck. And now when you do click Finish Form, you'll notice that all the edges disappeared because when you get out of the sculpt environment, it converts your sculpt body into a solid body. But right now, since the sculpt body doesn't have any thickness, it's only a surface. And that's a subtle thing that you'll learn later, but this is just something good to know. So what we want now is we want to transform this surface body into a solid body, which means we want to make this body watertight. Right now it's not watertight. So we're going to go into the browser right now. We're going to click on this drop down, the body folder. We're going to hide our base so that we can see this entire surface body. And now we're going to go into the workspace icon, and we're going to go into patch. Now we're going to patch up this surface by filling this hole and the bottom hole. So we're going to go to create, and we're going to click on patch, and we're going to click on this edge. And notice now I just added a patch onto into that hole, which essentially fills it up. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom. So I'm going to click on patch, click on the bottom edge, and say OK. So now we've patched the surface body, and notice now we have 3 surfaces. What we want to do now is stitch those surfaces together to create one solid body, and we have a tool called Stitch. So we can go to Modify, click on Stitch. We're going to click on the original surface, and then we're going to click on the 2 circular surfaces. And notice now when I do that, the 2 circular surface edges become green, which means that we're good. And now we can click OK, and now this has become one solid body. Now if I turn on the base, we got ourselves a nice sculpted neck.